Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 15th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Maggie. How you doing, Maggie?
I'm doing great. What a day. I suddenly have the urge to say, let me explain, random bitch. And this is where we're at this morning.
Yes, we are here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 24 live feeds. It was day 40 in the house, and it's not that often that a day 40 is a live feed update where I am gonna have to do more summarizing than reenacting because there's too much to get to. But here we are.
Yeah. I mean, we did have that epic day 43, blow up on BB24. But I really went into today thinking that the biggest update that we were going to have to talk about was about a pool floaty. And then here we are. That's like number 7 important on the list today. So
Yeah. So let's get right into it here because there's a lot to get through. Taylor, of course, is the HOH. She nominated Indy and Terrence for eviction. Kyle then won the veto. While the plan was still for Kyle to use the veto on Terrence to put Joseph on the block next to Indy. However, after he won the veto, the plan changed to Kyle should use the veto to allow Taylor to put Alyssa on the block and send Alyssa home. And that conversation happened the night before on day 39, and Kyle was not a part of the conversation. So the big thing today, of course, is, well, when are they going to tell Kyle, and what's his reaction going to be? Well, Michael and Brittany, who discussed the night before as well, that they would love to get some conflict brewing within the alliance so that other people are willing to take shots that they would prefer to not have to take themselves, and had a conversation with Kyle where he already implied that he was willing to take those shots, decided, let's stir up some trouble. And despite the fact that it was Brittany that got this ball rolling in the first place to target Alyssa, and Michael backed it up, they went to Kyle in the morning, and Michael warned him, hey, just so you know, everyone met up last night, and now Taylor wants to use the veto to backdoor Alyssa. And Kyle was like, what? No.
yeah, messy. This idea, first off, like the cookout understood that people who have side alliances and have people, under their control are not going to go after those people. And Tiffany had to do it because Claire was the only option. People this is an insane ask. This is a wild ask. I don't even know why they're trying it, but it made things messy, and I think it made things clear. So, and yeah, Brittany and Michael are messy for this. And they later in the day, like they're trying to rat float right now within the alliance. And they're not as good at it as they think they are, I think. Andy Heron, they are not.
I mean, it's working, so I'll give him that.
For now, but I don't know. I'm really excited to see how. Okay, so after the veto's done today, the veto meeting happens today, and Taylor and Joseph are chained together. They're gonna have so much time to talk about anything and everything, and Taylor's duties are gonna be over. And I feel like then they can really, because I think that the biggest thing with this day today is Taylor is somebody who takes things at face value, and she's very direct. And I think that up until this point, she didn't want to think or believe that the leftovers were turning on her, people were being shady towards her. And I'm excited to see how all of this progresses as we move on throughout the rest of the week. But we should probably finish summarizing what happened yesterday.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
So Kyle is going to go, okay, well, there's some things I need to do. Then he's going to talk to Joseph. Hey, just so you know, I'm not really down to target Alyssa. Joseph is going to be like, oh, yeah, we kind of talked about that. It seemed like a decent idea, but if you're not down, then that's fine, which really should have been the end of it. But it's not. But he's like, yeah, that's fine. Well, we'll figure it out. I'll talk to Taylor. It'll be fine. And so Kyle's like, okay, great. That was easy. Maybe we don't need to blow up the alliance. And he's also going to talk to Monty, who is also to his face very much like, oh yeah, whatever. If you're not willing to use it, that's fine. Again, Michael and Brittany are like, oh, we don't want Alyssa to go. They're pushing it hard, but we don't want Alyssa to go. So Joseph, though, is going to go upstairs and talk to Taylor. And he says, Taylor, Kyle doesn't want to put Alyssa on the block. And Taylor's like, okay, well, that's annoying, but I guess maybe I should just put up Jasmine. And for a brief moment, it's like, wow, maybe the leftovers will stay together. Maybe this will all blow over. Joseph, though, goes, no, you shouldn't put up Jasmine. You didn't want to do that. That's not what you should do. Alyssa's the only one that makes sense. You don't even have a reason to put up Jasmine. We need to come up with a whole reason to do it. You have a reason to put up Alyssa. The veto competition. She took that prize. And Taylor's like, yeah, you're right. I should put up Alyssa. It shouldn't be Jasmine. Kyle needs to get over himself. And Michael comes in and he starts fueling the fire as well. Yeah, I agree. You should put up Alyssa. Alyssa is the right decision. Kyle should stop trying to make such a big deal of this. And so, things are back on schedule.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Joseph is he finally came around to what you were saying at the beginning of the week he should do, but he's doing it now so late that
he waited until it was impossible to do it because Kyle won the veto.
So messy. So messy.
If Joseph hadn't volunteered for the block and they put her up right away, or if the plan had always been to backdoor Alyssa, Kyle gets picked for the veto. Hey, Kyle, the plan is Alyssa. Throw that veto if you don't want to be in a situation where you need to not use it so that Alyssa goes home. Now he's in a spot where he can throw the veto, and it's a much easier thing to ask for him. And if he then wins it, it's an obvious faux pas, right? It's the Tiffany winning that HOH. It's like, well, you won even though we told you not to, so now you got to do the thing. Now they actually have some solid, foundation to start from. But instead, he won the veto under the pretense of Joseph going on the block. And it's anyway. So Michael's gonna run back downstairs, and Taylor. But first, Taylor's like, oh, Kyle, he needs to use the veto. That it will put him. I don't want him to be put in a position where he's the first to go of the leftovers because he didn't use the veto. That I don't want him to be in that position. We're not strong arming him, but I don't want him to do something that's really bad for his game, like not use the veto, because that would be pretty bad for his game. And so Michael's going to go downstairs and he says, Kyle, they're still trying to get Alyssa on the block. And Kyle's like, what are you talking about? I was just talking to Joseph. Seemed like he was fine with Alyssa not going up. He said he was going to talk to Taylor, smooth everything over, and it was all going to be fine. And Michael's like, well, I was just upstairs, and Joseph was just pushing Alyssa hard. Like, oh, she clowned herself in the veto competition. You'd have to put her on the block. And and Taylor was like, yeah, she has to go up. And they were even talking about like strong arming you into doing it, like threatening you. And Kyle's like, whoa, massive red flag, dude. I can't believe Joseph is playing so hard. What? Oh man. Not good.
Not good. And is this now we're getting to the point where the bombshell is dropped?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I just want to say, so yesterday on the update, you said to Kirsten, like, they're just laying in bed. They're not even doing anything.
Oh, no.
Kyle and Alyssa. Oh, okay. That's what I thought that we were talking about.
I thought you meant the look, there's a lot of bombshells today. Kyle says they're playing. So Kyle is pissed. He can't believe Joseph went back and forth, telling him it's fine for Alyssa to not go up, then goes up and pushes it to Taylor. He says he's manipulating Taylor. And he says, look, Michael, there's a reason I keep asking you where you stand in the 7, because look, I'm just going to say this. You need to think about the order of people that join the alliance. There was a group of 4 people that started it. Then you and Brittany were brought in. Then Taylor was brought in. That's all I'm going to say about that. Just remember the order that the people joined the alliance. There were 4 people to start. That's all I'm going to say about that. Very clear indication without fully outing the pound or the name or the alliance itself. Kyle is letting Michael know that there is a core of these 4 guys that started this alliance, and implying that they have some amount of loyalty to each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, things are getting interesting.
Which
this is like 11 a.m.
Yeah, and this is, again, like, this is why it's like, this is a big win for Michael, regardless of how anything plays out, that he now has this information because of the machinations of the last 24 hours. This is big time knowledge for Michael and Brittany to be able to use moving forward. Even if Kyle doesn't end up elaborating and regrets it later, like, already spilled the beans, dude.
Absolutely. And that's the thing about Michael and Brittany is, like, yes, right now they are kind of on the Kyle side, like pretty firmly on like the Kyle camp, that they want to be with Kyle and Alyssa. But I think the right person wins HOH. The right shakeup happens in this next week, and they are throwing him under the bus hard to save themselves. So it's
Oh, yeah.
he's giving them all the rope that they need to, Yeah.
The entire point of this for Michael and Brittany is to get rid of both Kyle and Alyssa and Joseph and Monty, essentially. And so they're really hoping that whichever, basically, if Kyle takes the first shot, gets rid of Monty and or Joseph or both, then they can be like, wow, can you believe what Kyle just did? He sucks, and side with the losers and take out Kyle and Alyssa. And then now they're sitting there with hopefully Taylor and Terrence and Jasmine. Like, that's kind of the play. So Kyle says, people always say that when you get comfortable in the game, that's like what's when things go wrong. And I was so comfortable this week. It's like, yeah, way too comfortable, Kyle. Like, not only have you caused this problem from the very inception of this alliance, not the Inception Alliance, but the inception of the Leftover Alliance, by not including Alyssa in the first place when you absolutely could have. But then you pushed for her to go for weeks, and then continued to not bring her in, continued to not just say, hey, guys, she really likes me. She'll do whatever I say, I promise. And then I will get rid of her at 7. Which is not believable. No, but none of it's believable. Here's a pro tip for Big Brother. If you are aligned with somebody who is in a showmance, they are not going to cut their showmance. That's it.
Period.
That's the pro tip. For some reason, year after year, people think that they will. There's this whole thing about, like, okay, we're in an alliance. Obviously, like, Kyle's going to have to do what he needs to do for the alliance. Who cares about an alliance? He's in a damn showmance. Of course he's not going to cut the alliance for a showmance. Nobody would do that. It's a really, really bad idea on every level. Of course he's not going to do it. Why would you expect him? Who cares about an alliance? It's just a group of people that are strategically helping themselves advance. It's not like, that's some like great. There's no greater cause like there was with the cookout. That's the only situation where that would have happened. There's no greater cause to an alliance in a Big Brother game. If there is no greater cause, most of the time there's not. And of course they're not going to cut their showmans. What are you talking about? And if you are that person, like, stop acting like stop putting a target on a person you're never going to target. It's dumb.
Yeah, and I see people in the comments talking like Netta was cut. Her and John were not in showmance.
First of all, I'm not talking about like final three. All right,
Yeah,
like that's a totally different story.
And
That's
Polly, people are saying Polly did it. Yeah, and Polly went home like the week after because it's a terrible, terrible idea.
Yeah, you should never cut. No winner of the show nobody who has cut their showmance has ever gone on to win the show. The closest thing is Lisa in season 3. Her showmance was already evicted. I'm talking about not final 3.
Sorry.
His showmance was already evicted, and she chose not to vote him back in, but her vote didn't matter. And it was like he was already evicted. And it's not like she like had a dominant performance or anything. So just of course nobody's gonna cut their showmance. It's at final 11. It's ridiculous. It's never gonna happen.
I would be so mad if I was Alyssa in this situation and I got out of the house and I saw how in the dark Kyle kept me and how like I would just be like, why did you do that? There were so many things that we could have done together. Like Kyle is actively harming his game by not trying to clue in Alyssa and work with her. I don't understand. Like, I just don't understand the logic.
Yeah. So like, what are you doing, Kyle? Because you put a target on your showmance this whole time. And then, you got too comfortable. You just laid around in bed and on floaties, as we'll talk about, and just like let all of this happen. You didn't go into the meetings, and you just allowed this target to fester, and then all day he didn't go and talk to Taylor until later in the day. He should have just talked to her. He should have just got this like done as soon as possible before like he allowed these like parasites in Michael and Brittany to just like feed off of this tension and make it like so much worse. And so just terrible stuff here. Obviously I am very firmly of the opinion Kyle should not be using this veto. Never in a million years should he use this veto. That would be
Agreed.
That would be by far the worst thing he could do. But the mistake that Kyle has made is allowing it to get to this point in the first place. He should not have ever given off the impression that he can be convinced to use this veto. Because the fact that they thought it would work and that they've pushed it so hard has now revealed just how much he is not willing to use the veto. And people are pissed that they're trying to push and it's not working. Terrible stuff here from Kyle. And
these stock watch ratings tomorrow are going to be so fascinating. I can't wait.
Yes. So while all this is happening, Alyssa's going to talk to Turner. She's been feeling a little emotional. Things have been a little emotional for her. She hurt her back deadlifting. And she's just feeling. Turner, can I tell you something?
Yeah, what's up?
So yesterday, Kyle and I,
Oh, that's fire, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just feeling a little weird about it. I'm worried it's going to like make it weird. And, he's like only slept with like 2 people in his life. And like, I don't know. It's just like, I'm worried about this whole situation. And like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just feeling emotional.
Why am I here for the, I immediately texted Kirsten and was like, this couldn't have come out last night.
You should have traded with Lita tomorrow, or whenever she's on.
Yeah, Lita would have so many wonderful things to say about this, and all I have is this face. Why? I just look. People can do whatever they want, but I will never. Like, I just won't. I just can't understand. Like, the jury house is so close.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to hear the details. Like, there's so many details. So many details. They spared
Maggie,
us.
You have an obligation. You are here to report.
Are you ready? All right. You ready? They had sex on a floaty.
Hold on. It's better to have the Turner reaction to it. He says dope. That's dope, dude. Then he goes, just out of curiosity, where did this happen? Oh, it was in the have-not room, like on one of the floaties. Oh, romantic. He's like, oh, that's so romantic. Oh, I'm so happy for you guys. It was great. So yeah, that's where it was. It was on the floaty in the have-not room.
You know, and house guests like to come out of the house and say, oh, you didn't see everything on feeds. I guess we don't, you know? We got spared that one. So
yeah, he was like, oh man, it's gonna be on the episode. She's like, oh.
You think it'll be on the episode?
No, Turner said that.
I think there will be some allusion to it, that there was like some messing around because of the way that they've been editing Kyle to be like such a horn dog. Okay.
I'm so bored and I'm so horny.
Stop.
He solved both issues.
He did. That he did. Well, and that's why he simply can't use this veto, because now it's moved into evil territory. If he uses the veto and backdoored Alyssa, that it's evil at that point.
Yes, and this genuinely is how Turner feels about it now.
Yes,
that he's gonna reassure.
Would.
Yeah, and like Alyssa came to him like emotional, like I just slept with this guy last night. Now I'm worried. He hasn't talked to me yet today, and it's just like a whole thing, and I'm just feeling really vulnerable and emotional. And in Turner's head, he's just like, okay, there is zero chance I'm okay with this veto being not used or being used by Kyle to put Alyssa on the block right after this. Like, I'm not okay with that. But she's like, don't tell anyone. She's like, I can't use it as the reason why I really don't think this should happen, but I really don't think this should happen.
And I think that if he did tell, obviously, completely respect Turner trying to respect Alyssa's privacy, even though she's talking about it on live feeds for all of America to hear and for us to talk about on a podcast. But like, I do respect him, you know, not wanting to respect her wishes and not tell the other people in the house. But I do feel like if Taylor got wind of this, she would be like, oh yeah, no, Kyle can't do that, because Taylor is a good person who would understand that it's just so over the line, like so beyond over the line if he were to use that veto and backdoor Alyssa.
Yeah. So he goes and talks to Kyle about it. He's like, dude, I know you guys, and that's dope. Kyle's like, how did you know? It's like, she told me not to tell anyone. I'm telling you though, don't tell her I told you. But I know, I just want you to know, like, I'm definitely on board to keep Alyssa now. Like, I would feel super weird about you not using the veto, or about you using the veto to send her home after that. So, you know, I'm totally on board. I don't think it should happen.
Yeah, me either. For the record.
On a scale,
okay,
how dope is it, Maggie, that this happened?
Like -10?
-10
his
dope?
Mom! All I can think about is his mom.
She'll get over it. Turner's also, he is going to try, right? So he's going to go to Monty, and he's going to try to use this. He says to Monty, like, hey, you know, he's talking about the Alyssa thing, and Monty is very, very much wanting Alyssa to go. And he's very much like, you know, Kyle talked to me. He doesn't want to use it. But that's like, when is Kyle going to do it then? Because we have a reason to do it to her now. And like, what's going to happen in the future? Is he going to be willing to take this shot? Monty's very concerned about this. And so he's talking to Turner about that. And Turner's trying to be like, dude, no, this shouldn't happen. Turner says, look, Kyle, I'm with you, but Kyle and Alyssa have gotten even closer recently. Very close. Like in multiple ways, if you're catching my drift. So it would be even more of a betrayal. And Monty's like, yeah, I get it. But I really think that I don't think Monty got it. I don't think Monty got it.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of people in the house don't even know they kissed yet.
Yeah, I think Monty either fully just like didn't even hear what Turner was saying because he was busy doing his own thing, or just assumed that he meant like, oh, they snuggled extra hard. I don't think he got it.
Well, and I think because this was like it's like it's surprising, you know, like I think for like it's just a surprising thing, so I don't think that his mind would go there, you know. Even I think that I'm on the Monty train where if you were like they got extra close, I would be like they kissed with tongue, you know. There's cameras all around, that's what they did, you know.
Yeah, well, like, we were playing Goose Goose Duck when this was brought into the light, and I was like, okay, but are we like this is the internet we're talking about? I didn't see this guy. Are we sure? Did she say those actual words? And they're like, yeah, Turner just went to Kyle and said, hey, you guys. And Kyle was like, how did you know? And I was like, whoa, okay. That's about as explicit as he can get.
Yep.
I guess it's true.
I have nothing to add here. I can't believe that I'm the chosen one here. There's so many other people who would be so much better and give you guys such better content. And I'm sorry. This is what I got for you.
Well, look, luckily we had a whole thing last night on the recap. If you want to really go in on the deep dive of floaties and maybe the mechanics of how it would work and whether or not you get a moist cover because of it, you can tune into last night's recap. I
think that that's a great idea because I will not be saying any of those words.
Maggie
today.
just went through a full life and death cycle as that sentence finished.
I did. I'm like here on the internet,
and then
reliving my worst nightmare. I'm so, oh gosh, my religious trauma coming out, having to talk about this.
So before we get back to the whole nonsense with the Alyssa nomination, there's more drama to talk about. There's even more. That's there's gonna be a conversation that happens with Turner, Jasmine, Joseph, Brittany, and Michael. And Jasmine is talking about her birthday. She's talking about how, like, it's my birthday. I'm going to be asking. I'm in the diary room, like, oh, and I want a pony. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. I wouldn't do that. But if they were going to give me a pony, I wouldn't mind. And she starts talking. She wants to ask for a balloon because she was looking. She said, I'm not sure if I could. Like, I don't know if it would get caught, but I was, and Michael's like, oh, you're hoping to release the balloon? She's like, yeah. And the second she says like anything about the like releasing a balloon, you hear Turner like, oh no. And then she goes on to talk more about it. She's like, yeah, so I would want to release the balloon. And Turner's like, have we considered that releasing plastic into the air, cause like a bird to die? Because it might eat the bird, or it might eat the balloon if it pops. Just as far as climate change, it's not good for the environment. The second he starts talking, Jasmine, who is just kind of chatting away. Have we considered that releasing a balloon? She gives him the stare. She gives him the stare. Dead silence. He goes, just have we considered that?
Like a minute.
I'm open to all options. Just okay, we can let it out. Sorry. I just figured we should consider alternatives. I'm anti-balloon releasing. That's why I asked us. Finally, Michael says, well, if we don't have outside, is there an alternative that you'd want to do, Jasmine? No alternatives. Brittany says, have you guys seen those lantern festivals with all the lights? I always thought that would be fun. Turner walks away. Jasmine puts the boot on and storms away.
Mm-hmm.
It's so awkward.
It's really awkward. And people are, I think people are missing the fact that what Turner said is correct. It's not good for the environment. But Jasmine just lost her father 4 months ago, and they share a birthday. This is going to be her first birthday without him. And she's on his favorite show, like in the house. It was not the right time and not the right thing to say to her. Period.
Yes. Now I did like listen back to this conversation, and I don't think that Turner recognized that this was about the dad. Because she hadn't mentioned her dad, at least in like the previous 5 minutes of conversation. And obviously they all know that she shares a birthday with her dad, but it wasn't like at the forefront of the conversation. And she's later going to say that like she had just talked about her dad. I don't think that's really correct. At least from I listened to it a couple of times. I never caught it. I think that there was definitely a little bit of know-it-all environmentalist being like, hey guys, you're gonna kill a bird with this. But it's not like he was intentionally trying to disrespect Jasmine's father.
No, of course not. Because Turner, what person would do that? I think he just wasn't thinking in the moment. And they have a good discussion about this afterwards, where he very vehemently apologizes for what he said and the timing of it, and all of that. And she accepted his apology, and they had like a real talk about their relationship and their issues. And Turner came away from that conversation being like, this is better than it's ever been, our relationship. Like she was very direct with him, and they were able to really talk things out. But I would never, I don't think Turner meant harm from it, but I would never say something like that to somebody in that situation. I think he just wasn't thinking.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think that he connected the balloon to her father in any way. I think he was thinking, a balloon for her birthday being released, typical Jasmine trying to release balloons for her birthday celebration. Have we tried not doing that, everyone? And then sort of recognized after saying it, oh crap, her father. Then again did apologize.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of all there is to it.
Yeah, but he's gonna go around. It's very humorous, sort of the fallout from this, because he's gonna go around just being like, yeah, so there's been another incident. I said something stupid, and Jasmine is really mad at me, and he's gonna retell it multiple times. Jasmine is very upset about the situation. She's mad at Joseph because he was laughing when Turner made the comment, because they were all laughing, but Joseph was in the line of sight. The second Turner started talking and then trailing off, they all just were trying to not laugh. And
it was uncomfortable. She just, she stared him down, and she said later that she has learned, in those situations to just not talk, because if she had said what she was thinking, it would have been really bad. So she just did not say anything, which made it incredibly awkward, and everybody got really uncomfortable. But I'm glad that Turner apologized to her and that she was willing to hear him out, because yeah, I don't think he didn't mean, any harm by it. And yeah.
Yes. So, he tells Alyssa, and Alyssa talks to Jasmine, and Alyssa's like, I just feel like, I think he really feels bad, and I think he wants to apologize. And Jasmine's like, I don't want him to apologize. Like, she's very upset. But as Maggie mentioned, he does eventually come and apologize. Like, everyone Jasmine talked to was like, not really like they were like, I think he recognizes that he said something wrong. I think he feels bad. I think he wants to apologize. And so they do have a conversation where he apologizes, and everything's fine for now. We'll see about the future.
Yeah. Turner's like, well, that's it. I'm for sure going up if she's HOH.
Yeah.
And she says the same thing about him too. She's like, well, if Turner's HOH, I'm going up.
So back to the real drama of the day. Kyle is very dead set on not using this veto, and he is also at this point pretty done with the alliance. He's gonna talk to Alyssa, and he says, "Hey," and also like keep in mind, because in my head I'm like, okay, she was just talking to Turner about how she feels weird about having just slept with him the night before, and she's feeling very insecure about it. And he's gonna like hop into bed with her and open up with, all right, so we really need to distance ourselves right now. And you can just like read it on her face. She's like, what? He's like, just for a little bit, for at least like tonight, tomorrow morning, basically until after the veto ceremony. Because look, people are not going to want me to use people are going to want me to use this veto. People are going to want me to use this veto. I'm not going to use it. And Indy is going to go. And so there's a lot of things happening right now, and I can't tell you everything, but there are some things in the works. And I think that if everything kind of goes as planned, then we'll be able to start working together for real. And that's all I can say about that for now. So
working together for real.
Yeah, he very much.
She's like, I thought we were working together for real. I thought you were my boyfriend.
Yes, she doesn't say that, but it may have been going through her head.
Like,
yes.
That's what I would be thinking if I'm like, okay, this guy's my boyfriend and he's used the veto on me once before. Like, oh my gosh, Kyle.
Yeah.
Kyle's wrong. Okay, he's wrong. All of this is very wrong. That's all I have to say about that. Very wrong.
So he says, for now, I just need you to keep playing up this back injury, and don't say anything to anyone. Like, seriously, not a thing to a single person. Is that all right? She's like, yes. She's like, do you trust me? Yes. Okay. Okay, we're good. And now the back injury again, she and like obviously lots of jokes about this happening on a floaty. But I think we have all the reason in the world to believe this genuinely did happen while deadlifting. Monty was doing some training with her and Terrence, and they both hurt their backs doing this, which just to me further, I talked about this the other day. I would absolutely think Monty was lying about being a personal trainer, and having both of his pupils injure themselves at the same time would just make me further believe, like, dude, come on, stop. I get that you want to pretend you have a different job, but stop hurting people. And
then he like doesn't fully like really have advice for them either. Like Joseph is like, use Tiger Balm, do this. And Monty's like, yeah, I think probably just like rest.
He's like, these things happen all the time. It'll be better in a couple days. And I'm like, somebody who recently injured his back deadlifting. Yeah, that's what they told me. And then that was not the case. These can be very serious. I
just want to clarify, because some people in the chat were asking. No, Alyssa and Kyle have not used boyfriend and girlfriend with each other, but they are starting to call each other showmance. And I think that obviously after the events of the day before, things got more serious, even based off of the way she was speaking with Turner. I think that things have gotten more serious with them. So no, they're not using the term boyfriend and girlfriend, but I do, as somebody with eyes, see that that's where it's headed, no matter, even if they're not saying it,
Yes. So, and this is genuinely, seemingly at least, pretty painful for Alyssa. Now, like,
Mm-hmm.
Terrence, I said also has hurt his back. He's kind of doing like the old man walk. Like my back kind of
Mm-hmm.
hurts, kind of waddle a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. But otherwise seems mostly fine. Alyssa is like she can't even sit straight up and down. Like she can't get into a comfortable
Yeah.
position. If she's sitting down, like she can't get up on her own, and she starts like, "Oh, guys, I need help."
I know.
Like it's pretty bad right now.
It is like she needs like somebody to help her get in and out of bed from like sitting upright to laying down. It's
Hmm.
yeah, not good.
Yeah.
Even at dinner, she
So,
had to like stand up while she was eating because sitting was like kind of painful for her. She was like standing with one knee on the chair eating.
hmm Kyle is gonna eventually, finally, after a whole day of little whispers in the shadows, finally Kyle and Taylor are going to talk. Um, and it's man, this is the beginning of like 3 to 4 straight hours of just weird, awkward tension, arguments, debates that like migrate all over the house in different little pockets and eventually culminates with them standing around the pool table outside. It's ridiculous. I cannot walk you through the whole process, but we will hit the highlights as we go through it. I tweeted this out. It's like, I don't know, this is not like this is a super common trope, but like you got those movies where it's like, oh, everybody comes to dinner. It's like a big extended family dinner. But there's lots of secrets and hidden drama that eventually gets exposed throughout the night as they start talking and pecking at each other and arguing and then separating into different rooms. And by the end of the movie, they're like all really like arguing with each other. And then maybe sometimes these are like murder movies and then they kill each other. Or sometimes it's just dramatic movies and then they
No,
just
it's
be all
giving
dramatic.
Succession. Succession.
Yeah.
Where everything's changed and nothing's changed.
So it starts though with Kyle and Taylor, who they always do this too. They start with small talk, even though they both know what they're there for. And again, Taylor has said Kyle has to do this. Like, there's no other option. I don't want him to be in a position where he's the first one out of the leftovers. Now, and that's key though, because from Taylor's point of view, from Joseph's point of view, they're still talking. Kyle's going to screw himself over at final 7. And right now is final 11. Kyle is talking about Taylor and Joseph screwing themselves over for the final 10. And that's a pretty big gap in when they're currently willing to take their strikes. So the biggest thing is, will Kyle shoot himself in the foot enough that Joseph and Taylor and maybe Monty go from shoot at Kyle first once they hit 7, which is not going to happen at this point.
Yep.
Or to like, okay, Kyle needs to go now. So that's the big thing. So they start with small talk. This man, look at how clean you've kept this place. So impressive. Yeah, and it's not very clean, by the way. But it's yeah, I made the bed. It's just so awkward. And then they eventually start like, okay, so I've been hearing like about the plan. Like last I heard, it was Joseph.
I thought it was awkward, but especially at the beginning, I think like actually sitting and watching, Taylor does a really good job of making it seem like she's not married to the idea and she's willing to hear him out. Like she explains sort of what's going on with her thought process and why she moved to Alyssa. But I felt like if I had been Kyle sitting in that conversation explaining my reasonings, I would have been like, oh, she's willing to hear me out. Like she's interested in hearing what I have to say. You don't agree?
I that's not how I would have. I felt like, I mean, and about like very valid response. It's very possible that Kyle did feel that way. From my perspective, this was a very obvious like two people who very, very obviously want very separate things, but are very have a very thinly veiled attempt at like pretending to not care. Because basically, the pretense is from both ends. From Kyle's end, it's like totally willing to do it, but XYZ, XYZ, A, B, C, and G, D, F. Like all the reasons why, but I'm totally willing to do it, but all of these things. And from Taylor's end, it's like, oh, totally. I definitely understand. I totally see why you don't want to use the veto. That's totally cool. But X, Y, Z, D, G, F, Q, R, T, like, and the problem is that like in a normal conversation where you're actually willing to just like accept another person's side and be open to these things, the conversation doesn't last like an hour of going over the same things over and over. So like there becomes a point where it's clear that the fact that the conversation isn't ending is proof enough that like there's something deeper going on, from my perspective at least.
Definitely. I just think socially, like, I think because I sat down and I haven't been watching feeds all week, and I sat down and watched the feeds, and I watched Taylor, and I think that she is really good. Like I said, she's very direct, but I do think that she takes stuff at face value. And like, obviously, when Kyle left the room, she would be like, huh? But I felt like she was very like attentive. She was listening. And because she was being direct, it gave him the chance to counter. And then when she didn't really have anything to counter with, it sort of, the conversation would dissipate. Like the initial conversation with her and Kyle was very, I think like Kyle was for sure getting his way. And then the issue became once Joseph started to,
I do think that is definitely a right read as well, though. Like, and I think I see your point more now, because yes, I think if this initial conversation had been all there was, I think and I felt that too. Like, I think that obviously Kyle knew that she was really pushing this, but she did back down, and I think maybe there's a chance the leftovers might actually hold for a little bit longer, because she was eventually convinced, and was fine with letting Kyle not use the veto. So let's just walk through that to get to there. Kyle basically says, and these are going to be the same arguments that are argued throughout the entire night, multiple times. But Taylor walks him through like, so I wasn't going to do Alyssa, but I heard about that comment on the wall. She said that's enough. And then she took the prize, and everyone knows that in Big Brother, you don't take the prize. That's like the dumbest move. And I just brief aside. Yes, it's a social game. Don't take a prize from people, especially through the HOH. But if you're not in first place, you're not going to get the veto. Why do we go through this every time? Yes, it's a dumb move, but why? Like, you lost. They did better than you. They get the prizes. That's how it should work. And I get it. This is the whole point of the competition, is that it causes drama every time. But I guess what I'm saying is that if I am in the house and I get like 5th place, and I'm holding a prize, and somebody in 2nd place chooses to take my prize instead of taking the veto, I'm like, yeah, because I came in 5th. It's not that deep. But look, again, I get it. It's a game. And Alyssa very much screwed up. Really dumb move to do this, because clearly not everyone in the house or who plays this game thinks the same way. So anyway, really dumb move of Alyssa. She's given me a reason to do this, and she's like, look, and I know it's really petty. I know it sounds really petty, but it's totally not petty. It just sounds petty. But it's given us a reason. It's given us a reason to do it. And Kyle is going to make a lot of other cases. One is that like, hey, the jealousy thing, definitely lame, whatever. The veto situation, I kind of feel responsible for that, and he kind of explains the situation. Like, she knew I was going to take the veto no matter what. So obviously in the moment, she's like, I'm not going to take the veto because Kyle's just going to take it from me, and I'm going to get a punishment. So I might as well take a prize. Was it a dumb decision? Absolutely. She made a dumb decision. But if anything, that kind of points to just her inability to strategize in this game. Like, right? Like, I think we're building her up to be this big target, but she makes dumb decisions all the time. Like, let's remember that she's the reason this alliance started, because she told me information about Old School and Girls. Like, people keep talking about her like she's some big threat, but physically now she's injured. Like, she broke her back. She didn't break her back, but Kyle says she broke her back. And strategically, she's making bad decisions all the time. So like, where is the threat here from Alyssa? And Taylor's like, well, you know, I think what we had discussed the night before is that, you know, she's kind of friends with all of us. So her social game is really good. We'd all feel bad sending her out. And Kyle's like, well, that's not a threat to us at all, because as long as we trust the alliance, like, we'll send her out. Like, her being friends with us doesn't threaten us in any way. Winning competitions, being a good strategist, and like organizing people against us, those are threats to the alliance. Being friends with us, all we need to do is make the decision to send her out. So as long as we trust each other in the alliance, what's the problem? No threat there. Basically implying like the only reason that her being friends with us, having connections with us, is a threat is if you don't trust me. And if you don't trust me, why in the hell am I going to send out Alyssa for people that don't trust me? So, and she's like, good point. Unfortunately, though, this is going to continue to go around in circles for the rest of the night.
But they basically their conversation gets interrupted by Joseph and Monty. But basically at the end of the conversation, I was like, by the time those other boys came in, I was like, oh, it's done. Kyle's getting his way, like, for sure. Like, you can hear it in Taylor's voice. Like, she's willing to do this for him. Like, Kyle's getting his way.
Well, to be clear, he was always going to get his way because he decides with the veto.
But of course,
yes.
But it was going to be like an agreed upon, like, nobody was going to side-eye him for it. And then Monty and Joseph came in and they start small talking again. And Taylor's like, all right, no, let's just keep talking. Let's keep talking about it. And Kyle was like, oh, okay. So then they get into it again. And everybody in the room is like, he's like, well, I've had conversations with you, Joseph, and you said you don't care. Monty, you say you don't care. And they were like, yeah, we did say that. Yeah. And Taylor was like, okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah. So before Joseph and Monty came in, Kyle, another one of Kyle's points was like, hey, if the whole alliance, if everybody else in the alliance really wanted me to make this move, like, that'd be another story. But I've talked to everyone individually today, and it seems like the majority actually want Indy out. And then there are some people that are indifferent, that pretty much the only person that seems to really want Alyssa out is you, Taylor. And Taylor's like, whoa, those are not the conversations that I've had. And he's like, well, those are the conversations that I've had. He's like, I talked to Joseph. He was like totally indifferent about it. I talked to Monty. He seemed like he didn't care out one way or another. I talked to Turner. He's pro sending Indy out and keeping Alyssa. And I talked to Michael and Brittany, and they were also both pro sending Indy out and keeping Alyssa. And Taylor says, that's surprising to me. And so this is where Michael and Brittany could get into some trouble for playing both sides. Now, Turner.
When? Yeah, she says,
right. When did you have these conversations? He said, today, before we talked, which is, of course, after they all agreed. Yes. So the big thing here when tracking Michael and Brittany and will they get in trouble for this and how much trouble will they get in for this is basically like, okay, they have a tolerance level for being caught, right? There's a level where they don't get caught at all. There's a level where they get caught, but it's just kind of like, come on, guys. Why are you being so spineless? Just pick a side. And then there's a level where they get caught and they get blamed. Michael and Brittany have been fanning these flames. We shouldn't go after each other. We should go after Michael and Brittany. He's won the most competitions. They're trying to cause us to fight. We should not do that. We should band together and go after them. That's the situation they need to avoid, because anything less than that is still pretty fine for them. As long as Kyle and Taylor and Joseph and Alyssa are still like going at each other, Michael and Brittany win pretty big. So they just need to avoid that level of getting in trouble. And it is very possible that they get to that point, especially because Kyle does keep pressing the point. Michael and Brittany told me they support me, and he was asking them like, hey, I want you guys to support me. And she's like, what's surprising that happened. But from Taylor's point of view, she's kind of like, I'm sure they're just playing, I'm sure they're just like, I'm sure it's fine. The game of telephone happens and they're probably just hearing out both sides, and it's probably not a big deal.
I think for Taylor, she takes a lot of this stuff at face value. And also to her, the leftovers are not just an alliance, they're her friends in the house. Like they're the only people who've been nice to her in the house. So I do think that she's willing to give people the benefit of the doubt more than somebody like Kyle, who to Kyle, the leftovers are just his alliance, So I think that for Taylor, and that also could be then, it goes one of two ways. Either she's like more willing to forgive them and, it's like, oh, well, there must just be some misunderstanding. Or she's like genuinely hurt by it because Michael and Brittany are her friends, and then they get blamed. So I think that there's one of two ways that it can go. And so Michael and Brittany are playing with fire a little bit here with Taylor.
Mm-hmm. So that happens there, and then the primary thing here is that the Michael and Brittany stuff, it does get brought up a little bit more, but like from Joseph, Monty, and Turner's point of view, it's not really something that ends up being much of a thing for them at all, which is huge because if it's individualized to Kyle and Taylor, then that's pretty manageable damage control for them. But obviously Kyle is clocking like, hey, Michael's coming to me with this information. And then apparently Taylor doesn't feel like Michael's supporting me. And there's going to be some about that. And Taylor's going to also question Michael and Brittany about this later. But yes, then Monty and Joseph come and join. Turner comes in as well. And they start talking, and it's all the same points. Just regurgitated again that Alyssa's not a threat. He doesn't feel comfortable doing this. Kyle is also going to say like, I mean, look, there's an easy solution to all of this, which is, or I think Turner's actually the one that says there's an easy solution to all of this, which is put Jasmine up. But and Kyle's like, yeah, and like just and okay. Another point that is brought up is Taylor says, this is the best time to do this. Least blood on your hands. All you need to do is use a veto, pretend like you didn't know what was going to happen. And Kyle says, for me, that doesn't feel right because there are so many other available options for and like, yeah, like, yeah, like this, there's so many other easy options. Indy, Terrence, Jasmine that like could go home this week. And I knowingly sending Alyssa out with the power that I won doesn't feel right to me. And she's like, well, isn't it going to be harder later? It's like, no, like if I won HOH at the final 8 and she's the last person left, it's a lot more understandable, I think, to sit her down and be like, look, we've been in an alliance, like essentially Brittany her. Right? Like that feels better because at that point I have no other option. It's the alliance or it's Alyssa. It's not Indy or Alyssa. So he's like, that makes more sense to me. That argument does not land with Taylor or the rest of them. They don't feel like because I mean, on one hand, I think on an emotional level, there is a logic to it. But on the other hand, he has no intention of taking Alyssa out at this point. So,
unless it's a cookout situation where the cause is greater than the individual game, like nobody's gonna do that.
Yes. But he makes that case as well. And so Monty and Joseph and Turner are there, and Monty and Joseph are basically giving zero support to the backdoor Alyssa side of things. Kyle kind of takes control of the situation as well. The second they come in, the second they start talking about it, he's like, yeah, so I was just explaining to Taylor how I'm not using the veto, and we were agreeing about me not using the veto, like trying to make it seem like we've already come to an arrangement here. Don't come in here trying to push anything, or you're going to be the weird one. And then when Turner comes in,
saying to them, well, we talked about this already. You said this. You said, like, already laying out what their stance is before they have a chance to say anything.
Yes, and Turner comes in and he quickly lets Turner know, like, hey, I've got the advantage here. Help me press it. Like, hey, we were talking about me not using the veto. And Kyle has already talked to Terrence at this point and told him, hey, I'm feeling like I'm not going to use the veto. I'm worried they're going to put up Alyssa. But don't worry, the votes are there to save you regardless of what happens with the veto. And so like that's all happening. And then Joseph talked to Terrence afterward, and Terrence was like, there's something going on. Kyle's not going to use the veto. And so Kyle's saying, like, I already talked to Terrence about this. He seemed chill about it. Like, already people are not going to be like, it's already kind of in the works here. That because that's what I was under the impression. I wasn't using the veto. Nobody told me that this was a whole thing. So that's happening. And then Turner starts backing him up. And really pressing the advantage. Yeah, I think that, I think Indy is much more likely to win a competition. I think Indy is much more likely to come after us. I really think that, all of these things make sense. And they all kind of agree that this is kind of where things are going to go. And, they don't come to a full conclusion. But at this point, they've all kind of said, like, yeah, Kyle, that makes sense. You're not going to use it. Okay. But then they get interrupted and they kind of disperse for a little while before they come back together. But for now, that is the conclusion.
Yeah. And then everybody gets to go to bed and you get a full night's sleep and it's perfect. It doesn't go around and around on a merry-go-round for the next 3 hours at all.
Yeah. And at this point, it's like, okay, this is still salvageable.
Yes.
Like, there's a little bit of heat on Michael and Brittany. Like Taylor and Joseph, if they wanted to, they could say, okay, it's clear Kyle's never going to do this. We can back off and full on rat Michael and Brittany out, full on blame them for this. Did you know, Kyle? Because you're saying that they supported you, but did you know that they were the ones that pushed this in the first place?
This and this.
Yeah, and they told us that they supported us, and now you came to us and you said that they were supporting you. How do you feel about that? Like, they could throw all the blame on Michael and Brittany and come away from this, I think, relatively clean. The opportunity is there. Because again, it's clear that Kyle's not going to use it, and this is kind of the situation they're in. However,
I don't think but I also don't think that that's the way that their mind goes. Like they're very locked in to the leftovers. Like they want to get to 6. Both Joseph and Taylor want to get to 6 with the leftovers. And so they don't want to start infighting right now, I think. Like they are much more looking at it by the end of the night. They're looking at it like, oh my gosh, can you believe Kyle? Like, what is he doing? He's causing this infighting versus them being flexible and able to turn and see, like, we should throw Michael and Brittany under the bus here so that this heat doesn't come back on us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and just again, like the severity of the punishments for this situation are different, right? From Taylor and Joseph's point of view, it's like, naughty Kyle, we're gonna put him in timeout. He's gonna be the first one to go at 7. And Kyle is like sharpening his knives. Like I'm ready to stab these people.
Yes. And I wish that they had more flexibility in what they were willing to like. And I understand why for Taylor, it doesn't make sense. There's 3 people outside of the leftovers who hate her, like who will never work with her. So I understand why there's less of a chance for her, like why she's less inclined to shift and try and figure out and do infighting. Like Jasmine and Terrence and Indy or Alyssa have proven that they have no interest in working with her ever. So I understand why she would be like, can you believe Kyle is doing this? Like he better watch it. Otherwise he's going to go first at 7, where Kyle has this flexibility where he can move around.
So the leftovers eventually are able to come back together, minus this time Kyle and without Joseph for now. So Michael and Brittany have joined. Monty and Turner are there. Taylor's there, and they're talking about the conversation. They're filling Michael and Brittany in before Monty and Turner get there. Taylor's like, this is going to sound aggressive, but did you tell Kyle that you supported him not using the veto? And let me tell you, Michael stammered. Yeah. I mean, so basically, what I think is happening is
for me, my list is Jasmine's at the top of my list. That's
not great. I think that we have discovered I think Brittany did an okay job in the moment, but like Michael
I don't recall having that conversation. I don't ever recall that happened.
Brittany just has Brittany has something that Michael doesn't, which is that like she can speak with confidence. Like at any, like she just has like I think it's like a therapist thing. She just like, even when she doesn't know what she's talking about, she can be like, yeah, no, absolutely. What I really think is happening is that
I understand that quality. I call it strong but wrong, which I often am.
Michael, though, when confronted, he crumbled. But luckily, he was kind of saved by Monty and Turner coming in. And they all start talking, and they all kind of agree, like, okay, yeah, Kyle's not going to want to use it. Taylor says, you know what? It's his decision. I think it's bad for his game, but if this is what he wants to do, that's fine. I'm willing to let him not use the veto. We can drop it here. And right as she finishes saying that, Joseph walks in the door. And she says, oh, Joseph, I was just saying, I think it's fine if Kyle doesn't use the veto. And Joseph goes, well. And he's going to start spinning a bunch of reasons. Again, like, none of them really make sense. But it's a lot of like, I just talked to Terrence and he thinks that, that Kyle should use the veto. So I think maybe that makes more sense. And like, don't you think that, Indy and Alyssa up on the block together causes more explosions and chaos? And she's like, yeah, that's right. And it's just like, we had this plan and I really feel like we have the reasons to do it right now. And he starts getting Taylor riled back up. And she's like, oh, you're right. Why won't he just let me do this?
And this is the thing, like Michael and Brittany all through the week, and especially yesterday in their conversations, have been like, Taylor just wants to do things for TV. Like she's inflexible. She's not hearing us. That's not true. I think Taylor is incredibly flexible and is willing to hear people out completely. The problem is the person that she listens to the most is Joseph.
Yeah.
That's the main issue. If they got rid of Joseph, Taylor would be firmly in their camp. But she's just going along with his wild notions that then they're like, well, Taylor is just like going, off and they're not seeing that it's Joseph in her ear.
Yeah, and like literally to like the visual of this as well, where Taylor says, I'm willing to drop this and let Kyle not use the veto. Joseph walks in and like 60 seconds later, she's like, he's got to use it. Like it was fast. And I think that like, this is really just like confirming the worst fears of the amount of influence that Joseph has over Taylor. So Taylor is like, you're totally right. And Joseph's like, and we can even put Alyssa up and still take her down. Meaning not vote her out. We can still vote Indy out. And Taylor's like, oh my God, yes. They should at least be on the block together. Kyle has to understand that. We can have him use the veto, put Alyssa up, and then we can just vote to keep her. Like if he really needs her in the game that bad, we can just do that. And it's like, okay.
We've lost
just
the
when
plot
you thought
here.
you were out,
Yeah, we've lost the plot. At this point, it's like, all right, everybody has to go to bed. Everybody get a snack. Everybody get a juice box. Everybody go to bed.
Oh boy, this is this is when things really start to like get because I think this was the point of no return. This is where because up until now the debates have been very level. Very like both sides, again, being very cautious about like looking like they care too much. Nobody's pushing too hard at this point. But now that we've reached this point and we're going to go even further, it's going to start to be pushed harder. And you know, even like Kyle's like, okay, that was settled, you know, pretty much, right? I've got them on board. And then he starts talking to people again, and all of a sudden they're arguing against him again. And he's like, what's happening? We just talked. Joseph, you were just in that room agreeing with me, and now you're down here telling me that you don't think that she needs to go on the block again. Like, what's happening? And Joseph is trying to give him, and this is going to get real messy because Joseph and Kyle in particular are going to go back and forth a lot. And they are going to repeat the same arguments over and over, with Kyle saying, I just don't see any value in having Alyssa on the block. I just don't see any value in that. And Joseph is like, no, I see value in it, because then, you know, Jasmine will have to choose between one of them. And Kyle's like, who cares if Jasmine has to choose between one of them? Like, what does that do for us? There's 3 people on the other side. Like, they're never going to nominate each other. Like, it's not like we're going to convince Jasmine to nominate Indy. Like, it's just not going to happen. And Joseph's like, you never know. Yeah, right? It might happen. And Kyle's like, I just don't see any value in that. And Joseph's like, I don't think you can say you don't see any value in it, because there is definitely value in it. There's just also value in other things.
Joseph's problem is that he sees more value in putting up Alyssa and whatever weird infighting is going to happen there than not pissing off Kyle, who's in his alliance. Like, he's just not, he's looking here and he's not looking like here, you know? And I think that is the main issue, is that he's taking for granted the relationship with the alliance. And like you said, even when they were trying to, a couple weeks ago, when they were trying to convince Kyle and Daniel to use the veto, or to not use the veto on Alyssa and Indy for that, you know, 3% more chance, they're looking at the best case scenario and the 3% extra chance outside of the alliance versus maintaining the relationships that they have in the alliance. And I feel like Joseph is kind of like the anti-Cody Calafiore in that way. Like, Cody was so good at being like, I don't care. You know, like, as if we're getting one of them out, that's fine. It doesn't matter to me which one. Like, the percentage wise, it doesn't matter. And he was able to have incredible relationships with the people in his alliance for that reason. Yes. So that was the point that I wanted to make.
Well, it's very Tyler and Brett, right? Where Brett started, you know, getting in with the other side, caused chaos amongst them, and that was great for the alliance. But then it allowed Tyler to solidify within the alliance and then oust Brett. This is the point in the game where you should be jumping from the other side to your alliance and focusing on them. And to be fair, I don't think that this is a Tyler and Brett scenario. I don't think that Kyle is the Tyler. I think that they're kind of like, one is Brett and the other is like Adam Pike or something. It's like they're both losing here. The thing is that this is bad for both of them. And the winners of this are Michael and Brittany. And so, and that's the thing too, where it's like, in this moment, I think that like the Joseph should be dropping it, because at the end of the day, it's Kyle's decision. He has the veto and he's never going to use it. So the further that Joseph digs, the worse it gets. Which is not to say that this is not equally bad for Kyle, because the difference is that Kyle, his mistakes came earlier to get to this point. Like, no, Kyle shouldn't use the veto, but he should not have gotten to this position. And so now by not using the veto, he's choosing between a rock and a hard place where no matter what he does, he's losing. And so, you know, just to be clear, they're all losers here. They're all losing in this battle, except for Michael and Brittany, who are gonna, you know, kind of, you know, get ahead from it. But so they continue with this. Joseph keeps pushing. Kyle keeps staying in place. Kyle's going to talk to while the other group was talking in the HOH room. Kyle is talking to Indy, and Terrence has now talked to Jasmine and told her, "Hey, Kyle told me he's not using it, and that the votes are there to take out Indy." And Jasmine's like, whoa. She does that look. She puts her head down and she looks up, and it's like, oh, what? And she's like, that doesn't make any sense. He's like, yeah, I think he thinks that Alyssa will go up. She's like, that's not going to happen. Taylor's going to put up Monty. And he's like, I don't know. He says, what he's saying. And he's told me that I would have the votes no matter what. And Jasmine's like, that's not true. You wouldn't have the votes no matter what. And so, but before Jasmine can get to Indy, Kyle's going to start talking with Indy and Jasmine's going to join. And Kyle is like, hey, I'm not 100% on using the veto at this point. And he's like, what? I don't understand why you would think if I had, and this is like Indy's go-to. Anytime somebody does something against, if I had the veto, I wouldn't have thought
never
a
do that to you.
second. I would have instantly used it on you. I would have used it on you before this. We wouldn't even have to wait for the ceremony. I would have instantly just put it around your neck. I would have imprinted it into your body. You would have instantly been vetoed. I'm exaggerating now.
No, I know. It's just somebody posted online that clip of Sam talking to JC about like curb stopping. And so it was like, Indy, tomorrow after the veto doesn't get used on her. It just, the clip itself is so funny. So that's what I'm going back to, just JC's face being like, why would you do that? It's sort of like Kyle's like, I'm not going to use it. I don't know. And she's like, what? Very funny.
Yeah. So she's not happy. Kyle's again going to say, like, I'm just worried that Alyssa might go up on the block. And this is what he has pitched to Taylor. And this is the thing for Taylor too, where it's like, this wasn't even the best move for Taylor.
I know.
Like what Kyle is pitching to her is what's better for her game.
I know.
Because
people are mad at Kyle. The heat's off of her.
Yes.
She doesn't have to expose that she wasn't going to go after Monty. Like she should be like, great. And that's what, when they were having that initial conversation and Kyle was like, I'll take the heat. I don't care. And she was like, okay, are you sure? Like, are you sure about that? And he was like, yes, I will. And it should have ended there. And then Joseph had to get involved.
Oh man. And it's just like literally the morning after she won, I said on this very update, I said, I think the play for Taylor is that you talk to Kyle and you say, hey, Kyle, I'm going to look out for Alyssa this week. Can you make sure that I'm good with her, even though I nominate her friends? And like get in good with Kyle, act like you're protecting Alyssa and win some favor there. Then be good with as many of the women as possible. Be good with Alyssa, be good with Kyle. And it's the exact same result. But instead we took this other path. And now it's like the worst of all worlds where she went the
this
opposite
messy
route.
path.
And it's just like, whew, so, but the good thing is that again, because Kyle is not going to use the veto, this story will play out. So Taylor should be good with Jasmine and Terrence, and probably not Alyssa though. But should be good with Jasmine and Terrence if they win HOH. We'll see. But that's the play. That's the plan that he's pitching to Taylor, which is, hey, I will take all the heat for this. I will say that I'm worried you're going to put up Alyssa, but you can just be like, he's lying. He's trying to protect Alyssa. And you can act like you were always going to put up Monty, and they'll be pissed at me. I'll be kicked out of the alliance, and Joseph can keep his position in the alliance. He can be mad at me too. Like, I'll take all the heat for this. If Jasmine or Terrence win HOH, then they'll be coming for me, and that's fine. I'll take that risk. I'm okay taking that risk. And so that's what he's giving to Indy at this point. Hey, I'm worried that Alyssa might go up, so I'm thinking I'm not 100% locked in. Then I'm going to use the veto. So they're going to rush upstairs to Indy is. Jasmine will get there eventually to talk to Taylor. And he's like, Taylor, Kyle is telling me that he's not going to use the veto. He's not locked in to use the veto. And Taylor's like, what? What? Why would he say that? And she's like, he's saying that he's worried that you're going to put Alyssa on the block. And again, this is all according to the plan that was pitched, right? He said he was going to say this, And her response is supposed to be, okay, well, that's not true. Why is Kyle lying? I don't know why he would think that I'm going to put Alyssa on the block. Does Alyssa think I'm going to go on the block? Now, this is one of the things that is like a point against Alyssa, is that she supposedly is like convinced that she's going to go up on the block. Alyssa has no idea that she's going on the block. She's absolutely no clue. She's emotional because of sleeping with Kyle, like being on her period, as she says, and injuring her
hurting
back.
It back. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're like so clear that she thinks she's going on the block. And so Taylor's like, does she think she's going to go up on the block? Is that why Kyle's saying this? And Jasmine and Indy are like, no, I haven't heard her say anything about that. And later Taylor's like, they were trying to convince me that Alyssa doesn't think she's going to go up on the block. But Taylor is saying like, well, that's not true. Monty is the target. Monty's the target. I don't know why he would do this unless maybe he's working with Monty. Do you think he's working with Monty? And Jasmine's like, wow, you think so like far ahead. I didn't even think about that. Like these are the people that they're working against.
I know.
She's like, well, maybe he's working. Maybe Monty convinced him to keep himself safe. And Jasmine's like, wow, oh my God, I hope not. Why would he work with Monty? And so Taylor's is playing this up, doing a good job, convincing Jasmine and Indy that this is all on Kyle. Again, all according to plan. Kyle's going to take the heat for this. And she's like, don't worry, I'll talk to Kyle. I'll try to make sure that this works. Alyssa's going to come up as well, and they talk a little bit about it as well. But Alyssa plays totally dumb, follows Kyle's advice, doesn't say really much of a word about this, except for she does apologize again for the veto situation, and also can't get up from the bed, which I was like, now I don't know if she's playing this up or not, because Kyle did tell her to play it up.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll just hopefully she recovers.
Yeah, it is consistent with how she was acting before he told her to play it up. So there's a chance she's not playing it up. So that is that is what's happening there. So the plan is already being like pushed. And I thought there was a chance too that like Taylor would have this conversation and be like, yeah, you know what? This actually is not that bad for me. They're thinking I'm their best friend and they're mad at Kyle and not me. But not quite the case, because these conversations are still happening. And Joseph is talking to Monty, and Monty is like, I don't know. Monty's thing again is just like, we have a reason to get her out now. If we wait, it's going to be harder. Is Kyle going to make that shot when he needs to? I'm not sure that he's going to be willing to. And Joseph is saying like, I don't know how this impacts the pound moving forward. Again, and like, this is again, it's just like, unfortunately, Joseph is thinking like, okay, maybe instead of bringing Kyle to 4, we're going to have to take him out a little sooner than that. And it's like, you got to go further. You got to go further. Yeah. So, yeah. Not that like Kyle's going to win this war, because he might be the first person to take a shot. But at that point, the retaliation comes, and Michael and Brittany are not going to have his back. And so, it's mutually assured destruction at this point. It's just a matter of who strikes first. So they're going to continue to just play this argument tag all over the house in little pockets until finally they all get outside and they're all standing around the pool table, and they're just having this debate. And one of the things that Indy said to Kyle when he was talking to her was that if she's voted out this week and she goes to jury alone, she's not going to stay at jury. She's going to quit jury. And Kyle was like, that offends me. And she was like, oh, I wouldn't really do it. I'm just talking about it. But she's talked to multiple people about this at this point. So they bring that up, and then the freaking feed's cut. And we're on Terrence walking through the kitchen for like 5 minutes before we finally get back outside, where everyone is standing around a pool table. So they start arguing it out there, and it's again all the same arguments that I've gone through now at this point a bunch of times. They just keep going around in circles. Turner is sticking up for Alyssa, and Joseph is arguing against it. Taylor's arguing against it. Kyle's arguing against them. And Michael and Brittany are like crickets. And at one point they're like, how do you feel, Michael? And he's like, I see both sides. I'm just like very, very blatantly just like weasels out of the question.
Yeah, and I feel like the right thing to do is to be like, I was on the fence before, but after hearing all of the arguments, I feel probably like I'm leaning more towards what Kyle is saying, if that's what he wants. Like, that's the easiest way to be like, we've been talking for 3 hours. I can now give an opinion, versus I came in and this is what I've been thinking all day, even though I've been telling you something different.
And he does kind of get there, but not before because so he eventually does. He says like, look, at the end of the day, I think Kyle won the veto, so he should have a bigger say in what happens. Which that should have been all he said. If that was all he said, I think it would have been much better. But he started it with, I don't know. I feel like I can see both sides and blah, blah, blah. And so like the feeling of what he was saying was that like he was being super wishy-washy. And then he ended with like, okay, Kyle should have more of a say, but it wasn't enough. He should have just said like, yeah.
Yeah. And Michael is somebody who's not known to like not have an opinion. That's the thing. One of my best friends says that he can always tell when I disagree with what somebody's saying because I go silent and I don't say anything in the conversation. So like he kind of has that tell, like usually when prompted, he'll give, a real answer. So I feel like that was a huge tell that he was like, no.
Yes. They eventually finally come to an end to this, which is the same end as it came to before, just with a lot more damage done to these relationships, which ultimately, even though, again, he kind of flounders a bit in this discussion, hugely beneficial to Michael and Brittany that this continued on and that these relationships are probably not repairable at this point, that Kyle is going to be dead set against Joseph. Joseph is probably going to be dead set against Kyle, and Michael and Brittany are going to benefit from this. So that's kind of where things stand. They agree Kyle's not going to use the veto, and in the future they can target Alyssa all they want. That's fine. They'll come up with whatever reason they want to. She's in a showmance with Kyle. Boom, easy, done. So that's kind of where things stand now. Individually, I want to sort of like check up with where people are at this point, right? Monty,
let's do it.
Not pleased with Kyle. He's not thinking about cutting Kyle, before 7. Maybe not even thinking about cutting Kyle before the pound. He's not completely out on the pound yet, but he's definitely like, I'm not sure about the pound anymore. And he's concerned that Kyle won't be willing to cut Alyssa. Monty right now, my prediction would be that if Alyssa gets clipped I can't believe I just used that phrase. Big Brother 22 got to me. If Alyssa gets cut in the weird double eviction thing, and Kyle is just like, okay, we lost Alyssa. That's fine. I have a feeling that there's a chance that Monty and Kyle could come back together and be like, now that she's gone, that's the problem. We can work together again. But right now he's definitely skeptical. And if Alyssa doesn't leave in the double, I think he will be very concerned. And unfortunately at that point, it might be too late, but we'll see. Joseph pushed very hard on Kyle. Definitely pretty anti-Kyle. I think Joseph is done with Kyle. I don't think he wants to work with Kyle. I don't think there's any world where like Alyssa gets cut and he's back on the Kyle train. I think he's done with Kyle.
Did you hear the conversation between Joseph and Taylor? Very, very brief in the kitchen. It was like a minute. And he was like, how are you feeling? This was at the very end of the night. He was like, how are you feeling? And she's like, I don't understand. He's okay with you being a pawn, but he won't put Alyssa on the block. And he was like, I feel the same way. And that was all they said. But like, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that connection here is severed for sure. And again, he's the one that brought up to Monty, like, I think this impacts the pound. I think Joseph is out on Kyle. Not yet sure what that does to his relationship with Turner, because we'll have to get I guess we'll just talk about Turner now. Turner, kind of on the other end of things. Turner doesn't really like how this was handled by Taylor, and that her HOH has been so messy, back and forth with all of these different targets. He doesn't understand any of the logic for why Alyssa needs to go, and was very much trying to, fight for Alyssa to stay. Remember, this whole thing with them sleeping together was like a big time no go there for Turner, and he doesn't understand why it was such a big deal that it needed to happen. And he's kind of feeling like maybe Taylor should be the first person they cut at 7. Now, so Turner is kind of on the other end of the timeout, you're in timeout kind of place, where instead of Kyle going at 7, Turner's kind of at the Taylor should go at 7. But that does not mean that he would be okay with making a shot before 7 necessarily. And he's going to kind of express this to Joseph, who is like, again, I don't know where this is going to land with Joseph. Like, is he going to feel like I can't work with Turner, or is he going to try and turn Turner? But there's a lot of sort of like the pound and where this is going to go definitely still up in the air right now.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I was just saying, should we talk Taylor?
Yes. So Taylor is she was definitely like, she talked to Michael and Brittany. She was like, hey, again, did you guys tell Kyle that you were in support of that? It like, it's in the way that she phrased it too, like later it was like, yeah, Kyle seemed to interpret what you guys said as supporting him. Almost like it was more Kyle's fault than their fault. And they kind of played into that a little bit. Like, yeah, no, we were just like hearing him out. Like, they do a much better job once they have Taylor alone. She was the only one that ever really took issue with it in the first place, on that end of things at least. And just like just watching them, like she's on the hammock and they're like, Brittany's sitting there and Kyle's sitting there, or Michael's sitting there. And like, Brittany's whispering and Michael's whispering, and it's just like I look at them as like little parasites. They're just like whispering evil into Taylor's ear, like yeah, it's all Kyle's fault. It's not our fault. And Taylor is not happy with Kyle. She is really annoyed. She is again like, this guy, he's making it clear where he stands. And Brittany and Michael are kind of trying to be like, well, this does kind of benefit you at the end of the day. She's like, yeah, that's fine. It's just like, the way that it happened. I don't like the way that it happened. And they're like, yeah, totally. Kyle sucks. We're great. We support you. And so, but they said, just hold on to this, right? Just hold on to it. Keep it in your back pocket. Basically encouraging them to, just wait for Kyle to take the shot at you. Then we'll help you retaliate.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where Taylor stands. Michael and Brittany, again, they did get caught playing both sides a bit, did not handle the confrontation very well. But even though Taylor questioned them, it seems like they've gotten away from that pretty fine. Kyle also was like, I didn't feel very supported by you guys in that conversation. But again, at this point, Kyle doesn't really have anywhere else to go. I expect that this will probably be smoothed over, and not that big of a deal. Ultimately, again, I think that Michael and Brittany came away with some huge wins from last night. It was not clean, but they should be more than fine moving forward.
I'm fascinated to see how this twist changes things next week, because Kyle, you're like, Kyle doesn't really have anywhere else to go. But if he's cut off from Alyssa and a 5, and what, like maybe Brittany's there and not Michael, and like Monty's there, I just see that there's some chance, I think, for shifting allegiance. And I think that the twist, actually, for like the first time, I'm fascinated to see how it all plays out. Because I just think that this is really setting up the stage for maybe people working with each other who would be less apt to be out of necessity. And I think that gives room for things to be exposed or not exposed, or things to be locked in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't like run through. I want to at some point like run through as many possible combinations of people as possible to try and determine like what are some likely outcomes. I've been trying to wait until I get a good sense of like what people actually would do in those spots. But like it is theoretically interesting.
Are you gonna
I
do
think
a Twitch stream or something?
I think we'll probably talk about it on like the roundtable, unless or the Stockwatch stream, depending on you know, because I don't want to do like all of the work and then like people change their targets in the
Totally.
next couple of days. But I am interested
Totally.
because like this is a twist. I will say this that the twists so far have been some of the worst Big Brother has ever come up with. The second I heard that how they worked, I was like, that's terrible. They've gotten lucky with their first twist being not working because Paloma left, and with the bestie twist, you know, aiding an alliance that everybody wanted to cheer for. This twist, this double thing first, I don't know how it works exactly. So it's very possible that the second I hear the actual rules, I'm like, okay, never mind, that's super dumb. But like this twist absolutely could be terrible. But I'm actually interested in sort of like how it plays out. I think there's a chance that this kind of works. I think this is one of their better ideas as a concept that I've seen them come up with. Again, we'll see what the details are. So yeah, we'll see how the twist works, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I like would be down to talk about all the different combinations and stuff too, because I think that there's like so much fan fictiony stuff you can do and like so many ways that you can, you know, move the chessboard around and like Hannah Chata and Tiffany it with the twist. Like I feel like there's so many ways that you can figure out the combinations and what they would do. That's super fun. I would be interested to hear your stream on it.
So let me see. So Kyle, of course, I think I don't think we got like super confirmation after everything, but I think Kyle is very much ready to take the shot, especially once we see this twist come into play. If Kyle wins that HOH, you know, I think he's taking a shot at whoever is available to him between Monty, Joseph, or Taylor. And I would honestly be surprised at this point if he doesn't. But again, that's not like super confirmed yet. I'm also looking for, honestly, I think there's a chance Kyle wakes up today and full on tells Alyssa everything, close to everything. I think that this is kind of the time to do it if he wants to. That, hey, I've been in an alliance. You know, I've been working with these people. I've been trying to keep you safe with them, but they really pushed me this week to try and get you out. I'm not using the veto because I'm protecting you, and so they're going to hate me and I'm going to not be in this alliance anymore. But don't worry, we're going to work with Michael and Brittany moving forward. They're willing to jump ship with us. Like this is what we're going to do moving forward. I think there's a chance he does that. He of course might not, but that's something I would look out for today. I think it's possible.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he should for his game, you know, for what I want. No, but for his game, like that, this is like you said, this is the time.
I think so. Yeah. I think this is because this is where he is directly essentially going against the alliance to protect her. There's not going to be a better moment to tell her this. And like, because if he does so later, it's like, remember that time that I didn't use the veto? Well, actually, that was me protecting you. Like, okay, you're lying to me now, though. Versus like, they all want you out. They pushed me so hard last night, but I'm done with it. I need to protect you. Like, we'll see. So that's kind of where Kyle seems to stand. And I think the overall story here is that the leftovers are done. They're done in the eyes, I think, of Kyle. Now, the problem is that, you know, right now, I think like Joseph and Monty and Taylor and Turner, they're all still eating the leftovers.
Yeah.
They do not know that they have expired and they're about to get a real bad tummy ache.
But if they win HOH, you know, like that, if it was a normal week next week and Monty won HOH, like they would send out Jasmine or they would send one of them out. But since it's not a normal week next week, They're all going to be separated. Like, I could see one side going completely rogue, and then the other side, if they're not even allowed to talk, like one of them is like, oh, well, great. The leftovers have control over here, and we'll just do our leftover thing. And then it's like on eviction night, which I think that's the point of this twist, is for like the big shock and awe and figuring out, what the other people did while you were gone. Like, I could see a situation where like Jasmine goes out and then like Joseph goes out, and then people are like, what, on the other side who didn't have any interaction.
Yeah. So I think that again, like they kind of, when this twist was announced, it was like, oh, this is really bad for Taylor and Joseph and them, because it's going to give the Kyle end of things an excuse to take the shot, make them more likely to take the shot. It could also, again, depending on what the details are and depending on how the groups are separated, could now actually be beneficial to Taylor and Joseph and Monty, because it might force them to take a shot that they would otherwise not take. Like if they're in a situation where Kyle is in a group with them, and I mean, let's just say full terrible luck for the leftovers. Bad, depending on who you're talking about, I guess, bad luck. But let's say Jasmine, Terrence, and Alyssa are all in one group. And the other group is like Kyle and Joseph and, Monty and whatever. Like, after what happened this week, they're gunning for Kyle. He's the most, like, being out at 7 becomes you're first out when there's just a group of 5 of us. And them being forced to do that would be massive for their game. I don't know that they would do it otherwise, but it's possible that it happens. And then there's it can even happen without that situation. Like, hey, what if Jasmine or Terrence or Alyssa are the only people on the side with Kyle, and then they win the veto? Or or maybe one of them, whatever. Like, there are all kinds of different possibilities of what could happen that could end up screwing Kyle over, even though he is primed to be the one to take the first shot. So a lot here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we've been on this update for an hour and 40 minutes.
I know. Jeez. I literally just looked at the time. There's more to talk about, but I gotta jump off to talk to Hannah Chada. So we have run out of time for today's live feed update. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for to talk. We'll talk about everything that happened today on the Big Brother 24 live feeds, and continue to discuss all of this. The veto ceremony should take place. We'll see if Kyle rats out the leftovers. We'll see what kind of other fallout happened from last night as they all kind of talk privately with each other. But that's pretty much where we stand here. Stay on the lookout. Find me over on Twitch. Tune into the roundtable tomorrow night. We'll rate these players. Oh boy. We'll have some fun with all of that. And find me over on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. Maggie, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at MLMorgan_. All
right. Well, I'm going to jump off and talk to Hannah. We will be talking with her live for the patrons of RHAP as a podcast, if you want to tune in to that. And it will then be released to the general public
I will be
sometime
in.
after.
That sounds awesome. I can't wait to hear her thoughts. That's great.
Yes. So tune in for that. Should be a good time. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you next time.